Hi everyone, it's Kathy here from Bello's Designs, and today's Talk Crafty to Me is all about doing a Vaseline resist with Brushos. I'm going to be showing you some other things that we can do with Brushos alongside this, but this will be the main focus. So we're going to be using a stencil, any stencil of your choice, and we're going to place the stencil down, coat it with Vaseline, pour the stencil up and sprinkle the Brushos, and you get this great effect. And the bit where the Vaseline has been is white, so it makes the pattern really stand out. The only downside I would say is it's quite difficult to stamp on. You'd have to stamp on it very, very carefully because it stays sort of wet, and then you'd have to fix it. So I tried doing one with a stamp just yesterday, and it's slightly moved because it does stay a little bit greasy, for want of a better word. But it's great for doing cards like this, where you can put a sentiment on and you've got the pattern in the background, and then, you know, that looks quite good. In fact, this is the one we're going to be doing today. This is the dynamic stencil from Lavinia, and we're going to do that. The other thing, I usually use a glue runner, and I find that with these, you can sort of see the grease of the Vaseline behind. It doesn't stick well with a glue runner. You have to use a liquid glue. Which I'll put a link to in the bottom. So this is the one we're going to be doing today, but here are some other things that I've done recently with Brushos, and this is just using two colours. This was, I think, turquoise or ultramarine and a bit of lilac, and then I picked those colours out in doing the flowers in the bottom. This is another one that I did. Again, this is sea green and lilac, and I used poppy tape around to give a complete crisp edge. And again, a couple of different techniques that I'll show you about, but this is the same colour. This is the sea green. This one it's painted on, and this one it's sprinkled on. So I will show you how I created those two scenes shortly. This one I wanted to show you because I quite like the colour, but I made a mistake when doing this. With this particular card, I let it dry. From after placing the Brushos, I let it dry for quite a while. This was a little bit impatient, and I did it a bit too soon. And as you can see, some of the colours have come out, and it looks a bit greeny, like a light green in the background. I quite like it. It still works, but I prefer it, I think, with the white. So let's get started. I'm going to have a piece of, for this particular card, I'm going to have a card that measures 5 inches by 7 inches. I've got some matting card that is 6.5 inches by 4.5 inches. A piece of Multifarious card that is 6.25 inches by 4.25 inches. And then I just cut out a small, I think it's 1 inch by 3.5 inches or something for the sentiment, and a little bit of lilac backing to put on. So they're the bits that you're going to need first. I'm also going to be using as I say, the dynamic stencil. You can use stencil tape to hold it in place. I'm actually just going to hold it this time and see how that goes. And the Brushos I'm going to use for this particular one, I'm going to use lemon and brilliant red and Prussian blue. You can have a bottle of water, some sort of knife or a spatula tool, and some petroleum jelly or Vaseline. Right, let's get started. Right. So I'm going to load some of the Vaseline onto the back of my spatula. Oh, it's quite a warm day here today, so it's quite soft. And I'm just going to place my stencil where I'd like it, and I think yeah, it's quite good. So don't go right up to the edge, because you'll end up with a straight line down the side. It won't look so good. So I'm just going to try and sort of place it. Oh, there it goes. It falls. So I'm just going to use my tool here to just spread the Vaseline all over the card. It's quite hard on the video to see white on white. It's a little bit easier in person. If I had a different colour paper underneath, it would be a bit easier. So just making sure that it's all covered. Once I think it's covered, I'm going to scrape a little bit off. There we go. Right. So I'm going to lift my stencil I'm going to place that out of the way for the moment, and hopefully you can see the grease on the paper. I'll take that bit off the edge. Hopefully you can see the pattern if I move that around. So it's got a lovely pattern all over the background. I'm just going to go along the edges with my finger because I don't want any Brushos to sort of go over the edges. So right, now that's done, the next thing is to choose which colours you want to use. I'm going to use lemon, red and blue. You can have more. Actually, I might add a bit of lilac as well in there, I think. So 4 colours is more than enough. So I'm just going to sprinkle. As you can see, it doesn't take a lot. And when you get your Brushos, I use either a pokey tool or a pair of tweezers or screwdriver or something, just to make a little hole in the top, and I either write the colour or draw the colour on so that when they're in the box you can see what colour they are without getting them all out. And you really do only need a tiny amount. Some of them do come out a little bit faster than others. I often find that lemon comes out quite fast. So I'm going to have a little bit of blue. See, this one takes a bit harder to come out. This is quite a dark blue, so I don't want too much of that. And then I'm just going to add a little touch of lilac. Right, so we're going to activate the Brushos now by adding water. So I'm going to spray a lot of water on here, and you'll see that it will look a bit of a mess initially, but it does turn out okay in the end. So let's go. Got lots of water on here. And then what I usually do is get another piece of card, place it on top, so I end up with 2 backgrounds. Pull that one off now. There you can see. Now I'm going to start using my kitchen roll because I can see it's starting to pull there. I don't really want it to do that, so I'm going to leave that over here, sorry, to dry out. And then this one I'm going to tip it out, get some of the excess off, and then I'm going to leave that to dry for probably, I don't know, 10-15 minutes. Don't use the heat gun on that because it just melts the Vaseline and makes it a bit messy. Believe me, I'm speaking from experience. So whilst that's drying, I'm going to show you some of the other techniques for using the Brushos. So I'm going to start first of all with a piece of sweet poppy tape and again a piece of card, Multifarious. I'm just going to I have to do this bit down here because it's hard to see the edge on white and white. That's fine. Actually, I'm not going to do the sides. Yes, I will do the sides. Can't make up my mind today. One of those days. I'm going to do all 4 sides on this one. And then I'm going to, sometimes I sprinkle water on first and sometimes I don't. I'm not going to at the moment because I don't want to get too much on. So if I sprinkle it and I find it's too much, I can just use a brush and take some off. I think that's plenty. And that's the sea green, and this is a bit of lilac. I think they go really well together. And then we're going to get some kitchen roll ready for when we need it to mop up some of the Brushos. So try and get it off some of the edges there. I'm just taking a little bit of the excess off. There we go. Right, I'm going to leave that to dry as well for 5 minutes or so. And then I'm going to show you a couple of other things. So I'm going to have 2 pieces of card here. I'm going to use the same colour, but I'm going to do 2 different ways. So I'm going to, first of all, find my water bottle. Oops, let's get a bit of kitchen roll here. Right. So I'm actually going to spray this one a little bit first. So this is just sea green, that's all I'm using. And I'm going to spread it out. And then I'm going to dab quite a lot off. And sprinkle a little bit more. Right, so that is sea green, just sprinkled. Put that to one side so you can see that. And next, I'm going to put a bit of water. Again, some sea green. Now, if you just leave it like that and just watch, you can actually just put a tiny bit more water on like that. And you can watch it. It's really quite a dark green there with bits of yellow in. Now, if you get a paintbrush now and just paint along, take a little bit excess off. Take some more excess off. And I just wanted to show you the difference. That's when you paint it on, you get a smooth, straight colour, and it is sea green, whereas this one is more like blues and yellows and a bit of green. So it's the same, exactly the same Brusho, but just in a different format. So depending on how you use it, it can look quite different. Right, let's move those over there to... How's this one doing? I think we can take this one off now. So there's the background. And if I look here, this is what I did with the background. I just used a couple of simple flower stamps and some grass and the little seeds, and it makes quite an effective card. Took a few minutes, so it's really simple. Right, now this one is the top coat. Get rid of my rubbish. That's the top coat, and it's almost dry. I can see there's a couple of drops still, so I'm just going to blot those out. So that's the one that hasn't got the Vaseline on. Just turn this over. Now we're coming to the Vaseline one, and that's still not quite dry, so just have to carefully blot. Now I'm going to have to leave that another 5 minutes, so I'm just going to pause this for a moment and be back with you. Right, it's still drying. I'm going to leave it for a little bit longer, and I'm going to look for a different colour Brusho now. I'm going to look for a turquoise, I think. I've got turquoise here. Yeah, so I'm going to have a go a bit turquoise, and I'm also going to mix a little bit of lilac, and then I'm going to spray a bit more lilac. Let's tap some of this off. need to, sometimes you have to pat them on the table if you get a bit of a blockage. That's it, that's much better. There you go. Now I'm just going to let that one dry too. And then after this video is done, I shall share in our Facebook groups the finished pieces when they've dried and I've stamped on them. And I want to take this opportunity to ask people who haven't joined, would you consider joining our Facebook groups? We have 2 Facebook groups. We have Del Bello's Designs Lounge for all products that are Lavinia, and we have Del Bello's A La Carte Lounge, and that's for all other products that Patty sells, such as Sweet Poppy stencils, Nellie's Choice, cardio stamps, etc. So, you know, we'd love to see you in our groups. We've got quite a lot of members now, and everybody shares and very supportive of each other. So please do join us. Right, let's leave that somewhere to dry now. You can have a look at these. These are practically dry now. So as they dry, you can see. So I also did, for the sea green, I did Sebastian on one like this, and then I just used some pan pastels through a circle stencil just to make some bubbles above him. So that's that one for the plain green, and for the splattered green I used the fishes to create an underwater scene. So that's those ones. Now let's have a look at this. I'm gonna try and get some of this Vaseline off now. We'll see how it turns out. It's quite messy. Takes quite a bit of buffing up afterwards. Let's get a clean bit because it's a bit greasy. You do need quite a bit of kitchen roll, I'm afraid, but you get a good effect afterwards. So making my card go a little bit soft. It's going to be a really good buff. There we go. So that's actually quite a vibrant one. It's a bit more vibrant than the initial card I did. I think it's because I added the darker blue. So if you have a paler blue, it'll have a slightly different look. Now with this, if you get a bit that you don't like, that you think is a bit smudged, or you can use your backing, depending which way you want to do it. You can put your sentiment wherever you like. It doesn't have to be central, it doesn't have to be down the bottom. I usually like to do it off centre anyway. On this one, it's off centre on the right, and I'm going to do this one off centre on the left. So I'm going to put those down. I'll just turn that over. So I'm going to stamp my sentiment. And I've also found that with stamping some of these sentiments, I don't press hard because, I don't know if you can see, but on parts of it, it seems to be a bit dark. So, and I find that I just press it down lightly. Don't put any pressure on it. Oh, that wasn't enough. Well, you can always turn it over. I did that too lightly, obviously. So just gently put it on without too much pressure. There you go. And then we're just going to put a little seed off to the left. There we go. Now, I'm actually going to use my glue runner on this part. stick that one on with my glue runner because that's okay, that's fine. I'm actually going to slightly trim this side. I think it might have got a little bit from my fingers. It is a bit greasy, the Vaseline, so, and this is why when we stick it onto the backing card we use liquid glue. I'm going to get my liquid glue on here. I'm going to stick this one here. Straight. So. Because it's greasy. And then we just stick this onto the card. And leave it to dry. So again, you can get different things from using Brushos, using the same Brushos, but get totally different effects, like those, and those, and this one. I hope you found this useful and you would like to give it a try. If you do, please share in our groups because we'd love to see. So thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye.